Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to yet another great edition of Topic Time with Harrison Young. It feels a little bit more like spring out there as I came in tonight. Another great guest, of course. Could warm up a little more, but it will. Can't worry about that. No snow, no postponements all season long, so I ain't complaining. But now I read the underwriters, and then we do the show. So here we go. We got Dave's Automotive in Hanson. We got Cherry Lane Seat Weaving in West Bridgewater. We got MDI Auto Brokers and Repair in Whitman, home of the fully certified used car. We got Smoke and Ashes Tobacco Corporation in Abington, with stores and locations in Abington, Hanson, Hanover, Pembroke, Weymouth, and Whitman. We got Hennessy Automotive in Kingston, and we got Plimpton Cycles in Plimpton, great motorcycles. And I want to thank you guys very much, and now we will do the show as usual. So this evening we have this young lady, this beautiful, she's done so many different things. She's now a face painter. She was an actress. She does children's parties. She does makeup. I just found out she did makeup for this film I was in a few years ago called The Imposing. And she's got what we call a Jill of all trades. This is Cindy Caprio. She's pretty much known all over the world in some circles, and we're going to talk all about that tonight. We're going to interview her. So, Cindy, thank you for being on Topic Time with me tonight. After all these years, we tried to get you on a couple of years ago. You were sick. Mm-hmm. Now you look very healthy, and I guess you're feeling pretty good, and I'm feeling great.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear that. You can't ask for better than that.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's not like the opposite. It's someone in a prison saying, "Oh, I'm thrilled to be here." Yeah, couldn't help but throw in that little odd comparison.
Right.
But, so anyway, well, you know what? You sent me so many messages about what you do. Mm-hmm. Why don't you, in order of interest to yourself, priority, break it down little by little, one at a time, and when I have a question, I'll interject. So go ahead.
Okay. Would you like me to start from the beginning?
Yes.
When I started with modeling?
Sure.
Okay. So I started when I was about 14 or 15.
Okay.
I started
which is a lot longer ago than you would think, knowing your age.
Oh, yeah. We might get to that. I don't know.
Okay, it's up to you, but go on.
The years might age me. So I was about 14 or 15, and I started with some pageants and
You grew up in Rhode Island, did you not?
I did,
okay.
Yes. I grew up, born and raised in Rhode Island.
Biggest little state in the union, as we discussed.
That's right, yes.
Okay.
So I was doing some pageants and some different fashion shows, and I actually was asked from a photographer to take pictures of me.
From bucks, big ones.
Yeah.
and at the young age, as a minor, no less. It was perfectly legit. It was just tasteful pictures, not things that we don't talk about. That's really cool.
Right. It was very different back then.
Right.
We're talking the 80s.
I know. I was around in the 80s.
Early 80s. So this specific photographer talked to my mom, and they had a conversation about, different projects that he had. So my mother had to sign different contracts and releases and things of that nature.
You want to name the photographer?
He's actually passed away.
Okay, it's up to you then.
Yeah, and I think he passed away when he was about 97, couple of years ago.
Yeah, I wish you'd name him just because it's impressive that he lived. I hope I lived that long.
It's a Polish last name, and I will totally botch his last name. It's on the back of the postcard.
Okay.
The name of the photographer. So what happened was he wanted to do, he did postcards. That was part of his photography business.
Right.
And he would distribute them to
Rhode
the gift
Island
shops.
tourist postcards.
Rhode Island tourist postcards. So he had this great idea to put a model on the front of a postcard wearing the biggest little state in the union t-shirt.
Sweet.
So, and I was asked to do it, and I was, pretty surprised, and I was only quite flattered, absolutely, the first model to appear on a postcard in the state of Rhode Island. So I think I was about 17 when I took the pictures, but then when it was finally released, I was about 18.
Wow.
Once that happened, I started, I was very motivated. Then we didn't have internet. We didn't have any of the social media.
Right.
So I was typewriting a cover letter and sending out cover letters with pictures of myself to agencies, photographers, I mean, you name it. I was just out there knocking on doors and trying to get myself work.
Wow.
And it was paid work then.
Of course.
So I ended up with probably 10 different photographers that I was working with steadily. So between the ages of 17 and 20, I believe, I was out there. I was doing magazines. I did a lot of swimsuit. I did some different, I did Venus swimwear, Eugenia swimwear. That was a big market back in the day. It was, they had catalogs and they actually had magazines. Swimsuit Illustrated was one of them. So I did that. I did commercials.
Oh, hold on. TV commercials?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please talk.
But it wasn't anything national. It was local.
That's okay.
So I was hired to do like a shoe commercial and shoes.
Footwear?
Yep, shoes, footwear. Tanning salon, clothing boutiques, yeah, quite a few interesting things. Nightclubs.
Commercials that appeared on like channels 6 and 12 and 10.
Right, exactly, exactly. Appearances in nightclubs and things like that. Just little, I mean, not a feature actress or anything like that, but I was in there and I got paid. And
would say, I saw you on TV.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And then sometimes driving by the photography studios and seeing these gigantic pictures of myself in the windows was, you know, really interesting. So that's how that kind of got started.
I'm Gander, right?
I'm sorry?
Thrilling too, I assume.
It was very thrilling, and you know, I was working and I was making, you know, quite a bit of money for a young kid in one day versus working all week. So you're young and you're having fun and you're full of energy and you're, you know, and I wasn't the best model and I wasn't, you know, the prettiest model, and it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with enthusiasm, hard work, personality, and just putting myself out there.
Wow.
So,
and
yeah.
You did it this was just in Rhode Island alone?
Yes, I did get flown out to Miami Beach and Fort Lauderdale. I did a shoot for Eugenia magazine. So that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Cool.
So good memory. Absolutely.
I bet it was. Okay. So this is, now here we're talking in your 20s, right?
I was, between 17 and 20.
All right. So then what happened?
So then my mom had passed away, but before she passed away, I was in cosmetology school.
Okay.
So I was working, she was a cosmetologist and she had a hair salon.
Okay.
So I was working with her and I was going to school and I found my niche, which was makeup.
Okay.
So I started freelancing.
Right.
So this was quite a long time ago. I was about 19 maybe, about 19 or 20. So I started doing that.
Talking about the late 80s.
Yeah, yeah. So, so I started doing that, and then she passed away.
Yeah.
And I was kind of left, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Right.
So I started bartending, waitressing, doing my freelance makeup. I was working in a clothing boutique on Federal Hill.
Great area.
Yeah, I was managing
Great
actually
food
there.
too.
Great food, great food. So I was doing that, and then I went back to school. So I went to junior college.
Where was that?
CCRI, Community College of Rhode Island.
Right.
I didn't know what I wanted to do because, as you know, I have so many interests.
So many interests. Boy, I guess you have.
Yeah. So I studied I did general studies, liberal arts.
Okay.
And all of my extra courses I either took in health or I took in art.
Well, quick question. Why health? Did you have any intention of doing something in the medical industry eventually, possibly?
No, personal training and fitness instructor.
Oh, good, okay. And you do look very fit, by the way.
Thank you. So that's what I went to school for. So I graduated with liberal arts.
Okay.
And then I went forward and I got my certifications for fitness trainer and group fitness trainer, personal trainer.
Do you still do personal training now?
Not anymore.
Okay.
I had an injury several years ago, so I gave it up. But I do still take care of myself. I exercise, eat healthy, and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. So So then, when you got a little older, you were doing personal training. You were working in a boutique. You would did you say bartending as well?
Yes, I bartended until
you took a bunch of different jobs. Now you weren't married yet, or were you?
Not yet. No.
Okay. So what did you said you had like liberal arts majors over at CCRI. What did you end up doing with them?
So what I ended up doing was this is a whole nother story. I decided to work with little kids.
Okay.
So I ended up getting my certification for early childhood ed, teaching preschool and pre-K.
Cool.
And while I was working at a fitness center, I started working with girls between the ages of 7 and 15. And I was running camps, and it was self-esteem boosting camps where I taught them about nutrition, taking care of themselves. We did light makeup lessons, skincare lessons. We did some fitness
classes. There's a name for that. You told me it the other day. Sparring, powering. What was that thing? What kind of parties do you?
Oh, so my business now, I do face painting, and body painting, belly bump painting, which is maternity painting.
Yeah.
And I decided I love the kids so much. I enjoy my face painting, and because I'm a licensed esthetician, which I went to aesthetic school.
What's that exactly?
So, so 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I went back to school again, and I got licensed as an esthetician, which is
exactly
a skincare therapist.
Oh, got it. Like
so you do facials and you do skin treatments, waxing, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So I worked in a couple of spas, but it really wasn't made for me. I just didn't care for it very much.
Okay.
So I branched out because I enjoy the makeup. So I started doing the makeup artistry.
Okay.
And that's kind of how the face painting began. I started doing photo shoots for models.
By this time you were already married and you had your son?
Yes. Okay. So I moved to Massachusetts 20 years ago.
Your son was from, your husband was from Plymouth?
My husband lived in Massachusetts, so he grew up in Massachusetts. I was in Rhode Island, so when we met, it made more sense for me to relocate. He had a business, so it just made more sense. So I finished out school, and then I moved to Massachusetts. And I was kind of lost a little bit because I didn't know what I was going to do. All of my connections and my work I had to leave behind. So I got into bartending just to kind of feel my way around to figure out what I was going to do.
You couldn't, I mean, we're pretty close together between Mass and Rhode Island. You couldn't have done it. You couldn't have just commuted back and forth. You still worked in Rhode Island if you had your connections there? I'm just wondering. I'm just curious.
Yeah, a little bit. I did travel in the very beginning, but then after a couple of months, I just didn't do it anymore.
I see. Okay.
So I just started. I worked in an office. You just felt it wasn't convenient enough, I guess. Yes, exactly. So I tried working in an office. I'm not cut out for that. That's just not my thing. I'm not for the corporate world. You don't want to be cooped up for 8 hours a day. Yeah. So I managed to find a gym to work at.
You want to mention that gym? It's up to you.
Body to Soul Fitness.
Okay.
And so I worked for them, and that's where I started the camps for the girls.
Okay.
And
just curious, speaking about those self-esteem camps, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
What if now, this is kind of a blunt question, but unfortunately some young girls might be in a situation where they're really feeling inferior for whatever reason. Maybe they're heavy or something, or maybe maybe they just feel they've been picked on in school. How did you deal with how did you deal with kids like this? I'm sure you must have come across them. And I'm just saying it must have been a lot harder for you to deal with young girls that were going through this kind of thing. At that age, it's just sometimes those ages are tough, and kids have these issues. So how did you deal with it?
It's actually a great thing to work with girls that have self-esteem issues and that have body dysmorphia or different things going on where they're uncomfortable with themselves. And I actually was teased when I was younger.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So I had an understanding as far as what it feels like to be different than other people and to maybe come from a broken home and to have some different things that can weigh on a child's shoulders. So I had a lot of compassion and I had the ability to help them work through certain things. And I always say it doesn't matter the exterior.
Right.
It's always about what's inside in your soul. If you have an ugly soul, then this isn't going to be pretty. This isn't going to show anything. You can be the most gorgeous woman in the world, but if you don't have a good heart and a kind soul, that's going to show.
Of course.
So that was one big thing that I always focused on with the girls. And it's about being healthy. And even before the body acceptance, which I think is wonderful nowadays, everybody should accept who they are.
Right.
But even before this started about, back then, I was talking about that to the girls. This isn't about being perfect, and this isn't about, you know, your body. This is about how you're going to feel on the inside and how you're going to take care of yourself for when you get older.
So you felt you were it sounds like you were very successful at it, even when those were a challenge.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about how this led up to. Now, anything that you mentioned, you said that there were other things you did. You did some kind of a makeup video, and that was really cool. You shared it on. We looked at it. So that's all part of the curriculum that you had for being a makeup artist that you applied to what you're doing today, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
so let's fast forward it to to 2019 or whatever, or any of the years, anything pertinent between the 80s and now that you want to bring up, and then we'll take it from there and roll along with it. So go ahead.
Okay. So basically, I mean, we already talked about the modeling.
Exactly.
I did sing in a band for a little bit, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah, and I'm not the best singer, trust me. I just did enough to get me by. It was fun, and it was a great time.
Yep.
And I lived a very fun life growing up as a young adult into my 30s.
Right.
I had a really good time. I experienced a lot of fun things.
Okay.
Met my husband. I was 30.
Yep.
I met him.
Yep.
Relocated. Already talked about going to work at the gym.
Right.
I tried an office. I actually lasted a year,
Even though you didn't like it?
Even though I didn't like it, I
Wow.
stayed for a year, and then I left to go bartend.
Okay.
So I started bartending
still
again.
bartending now?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm not.
Okay.
So I started doing that, and then I started picking up makeup work again.
Okay.
So I started doing proms and bridal, and I kind of stuck with that.
Okay.
And I did that for up until. I still do it, but
Quick
not as
question
much.
about that. When it comes to making people up, do you just concentrate on the skin, or do you have fashion things going on as well? In other words, do you do any clothes designs or clothing appreciation? What's the word I'm looking for?
Like consultation.
Clothing setups for people. So in other words, to get girls on prom dresses and whatever, like during the spring season, or just all makeup.
I've helped with wardrobe consults, so that I have done, or if I'm on set and if I'm there with a model and I see something's out of place, I'll go over and kind of maneuver it around, whatever it may be.
So there's a little fashion, involves fashion as well.
Sometimes, yes. It depends on what I'm doing. So I was mainly focusing on brides and proms, doing that. And then over the years, I believe it was around 2013, photographers and models started approaching me and asking me to do makeup.
Okay.
So that's how I got into that part of the makeup industry.
How did they find you based on like what you've done before?
I don't even remember, to be honest. I really don't remember. I just remember getting contacted, and the next thing I knew, I was working in studios and doing makeup for girls that were going into magazine shoots, or they were doing tests for magazines, and it was very interesting.
Sure.
And so during this period, I started, so I would say maybe about 5 years ago, I started finding interest in fashion makeup, like avant-garde type of makeup. So like funky colors and some things that you will see in high fashion magazines, like on the runway.
Gene Simmons?
Well,
not quite that crazy.
Not quite that crazy, but like David Bowie, just very eccentric. Something you would see like on a runway. Just out of
sometimes
really,
girls have spiked hair.
Right,
and by
exactly.
the way, do you involve hair treatment too, or just?
I do hair on set if asked. I will do hair on set, but I'm not licensed. I cannot color or perm or anything like that. I was licensed years ago in Rhode Island, but I gave up the license when I moved to Massachusetts. But I do hair if I'm asked to do it, but my passion is the makeup. So that's when I realized I really wanted to get into face painting, is when I started doing the fashion makeup, because I was using a lot of fun colors and I was able to get creative. I'm very creative, and that really struck a chord in me, and I started playing around with it, but I didn't know anything about face painting. And face painting, you don't go to a Michael's craft shop and pick up, you know, a mom paint set.
Okay.
There's a lot more to it than people know.
Sure
there are pro shops where you order online and you order FDA approved. It's cosmetics.
Do you have,
they call them
you
face
have an online
paint,
website for shipping to people too?
I don't personally have an online.
Would you ever think of getting one?
No, that's not something I've thought
okay.
of.
I just
yeah.
thought maybe you're so you know adept at it now. Maybe you could try getting your own online makeup supply company to going. I don't know, but maybe it's not for you. Then.
I don't know if that's something I would do.
No, you just like being with people.
Right now, in the moment,
I
mean, things change. I always find with me anyway, a door closes and another one opens.
Right, that sounds
like that's
it.
just been the story of my life.
Yep.
Like something closes, another one opens, and it's just constant. Like that's just for whatever reason, that's how my life has been.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah,
okay.
And so I started the interest in face painting, and I had posted a few things on my makeup page,
right.
and someone contacted me and had said, I see that you're showing an interest in makeup, with face painting.
Right.
How about you contact me, and I have some different groups that you can join in on, and you can start learning how to do this and learn more about the trade. And that's what happened. So I started joining some different online groups, and I signed up for, most of it self-taught, but then I signed up for a very intensive program that I do now online. I paint every day for hours. I just work on my trade.
You have your own location where you do it?
I do on location. I go on the road. So somebody may call me for a birthday party or a fundraiser or, you know, a festival.
You're obviously in demand for stuff like this.
Yes. So they'll call me and I'll go out, and I have a huge setup of, you know, hundreds and hundreds of paints and brushes, and it's a big, you know.
Is it just women and girls and men too, or what?
Well, for the face painting for the kids, it's boys and girls. But there are adults. They'll come over to the table and they'll ask for a paint on the arm or on the cheek, sometimes a full paint. It just depends. And so, yeah, so that's kind of where this is at now. And then the new thing that I'm starting up is what I was telling you about, is girl spa pampering parties.
That's right. That's what you were telling me. Spa pampering.
So I still.
That's mostly for little girls.
It's for little girls, ages 4 to 16.
Young girls.
Young girls, and I'm in the process of putting together packages. It's hands-on fun. It's very good for the girls' self-esteem. It's great for them to make connections with other girls their ages.
So it's kind of like a social club for these girls together.
Sort of.
Good.
It's like, for example, a birthday party. Mom or dad hires me. I show up. I have all the supplies. I entertain them. I clean up. And the girls have a blast.
Well, how far was your range of travel?
I travel Rhode Island. I will travel Massachusetts, mostly South Shore, Massachusetts, and I will cover Cape Cod.
Cool. So you got a pretty good. You don't have to go too far, but you do have a pretty good range of customers, and you know, good circumference that you cover. That is so cool. So guess what? We're within the last 5 minutes of the show.
Oh wow!
So what I want you to tell me first, I'm going to ask you how you know Ruth Pointer, the famous.
Oh my gosh! Yes. So the highlight of my career.
Go ahead.
I got contacted to do a photo shoot with her. I was asked to do makeup for her. And I went to her home in Massachusetts.
That's right. She has one here.
Yes, and I did her makeup. I was at her home for a full day. Probably 10 hours. They had a big set in her home. I worked on her and her daughter. And it was a wonderful experience. We got published in Closer magazine, which I brought with me today. And it was fantastic. She's a wonderful, down-to-earth woman, and I was a huge fan back in the day. And I was so starstruck when I saw her. Yes, I will try and get her on the show. She's wonderful.
That would be great. I know she just turned out a book about life with being a pointer system. Which pretty. I dialect existence, obviously.
Yes,
Okay.
and that was the magazine shoot was actually about the book.
Wow.
So it was talking about, she was promoting her book.
Okay,
basically.
that is so cool.
So it was very cool, very cool. And I have pictures of me with her and with her daughter and behind the scenes. It's all on my Facebook page.
Okay,
so
yeah,
I have
I'll
it
have
all
to check
on
it
there.
out.
Yeah.
And I'll give some, now we're wrapping it up in a few minutes. Give shouts out to the people that are going to see it, but condense them because a lot of people are going to see it.
Oh my
Even
goodness.
Her. You talk to your family, you know, you were a few people who gave us likes when you plugged your appearance on my show. So just say, you know, when we got 3 minutes, so go ahead and then we'll wrap it up.
I first want to thank my husband. He's been extremely supportive in everything I've done. I want to thank all of my painty friends across the globe. Without you, I would not be here right now talking about my little business, and for helping me. And I'm still growing and I'm still learning. You know who you are. I love you all. And I want to thank everybody in the industry. I have so many names, it'll take me all of this time, so I'm not even going to name the names. Ruth Pointer, thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
Highlight of my life. Okay. And also I'm at Making Faces by Cindy, and you can find me Cindy Caprio if you want to message me, and I can send you my link if you're interested. So thank you, everyone.
And I hope you had a good time with me tonight.
I had a wonderful time. This was so much fun. We did, yes. It went by fast.
All right, just real quick, what is just before we wrap it up, what does the summer look like for you? Just more stuff, anything different? You're starting a new business?
This summer, I'm actually looking to network with some models and photographers.
Sure.
I am looking to do some body painting. I'm looking to do some maternity bump painting. I'm looking to do some real fun, outrageous photo shoots. So hit me up if you want to work together. I would really be interested in that.
Okay, well that was awesome. You were a great guest. Thank you for being on my show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching Topic Time. More great episodes to follow. See you next time. Take care. That's it.